going on, y'all? Going on. Pretty busy day today, despite the fact that we don't have a game day. So we're going to talk about a few different things. First, obviously, as you see, completed season series recap. So we're going to talk about the season series so far we've completed against 4 teams, pretty briefly. And then we're going to talk about a couple of guys on the opposite end of the spectrum. Sam O'Reilly, one of our top prospects, and then also Darren Radish, who's having quite the heck of a year, obviously, especially these last few weeks. Might be on the thumbnail too, we'll see. And then we're going to finish it off with a pretty big what if today. So let's go ahead and just jump right into this because it's a couple interesting topics, I believe, so we completed a season series against 4 teams so far: the Golden Knights, the Capitals, the Devils, and the Islanders. Won 3 of those, right? Beat the Golden Knights, who swept in 2-0. Capitals, we beat them 2-1 after losing the first game. Same thing with the Devils. We lost the first game against them, won the last 2. And then the Islanders swept us. Ridiculous, but it happens. It's hockey, right? So, despite finishing their season series against each of these 4 opponents, there is a possibility that the Bolts could still see them down the road, right? Could see the Golden Knights in a potential Stanley Cup matchup, and we could also see the other 3 in the playoffs, because, as we know, the Metro is kind of bonkers. I'm not going to lie, it's pretty wild. So, the Islanders are second in the Metro at 41 points. The Caps are right behind them in third at 40. And the Devils aren't too far behind as well at 37. So their 37 points are just 7 points behind the division-leading Canes. So the Metro is kind of bonkers because where we are tied with Detroit for the Atlantic lead at 39 points apiece, there's 3 or 4 teams above that mark in the Metro. So it's safe to say the Metro could have a pretty strong presence in the Eastern Conference side of the bracket this year. Both the Islanders and the Capitals would actually lead the Atlantic with their current point totals, which is pretty funny to talk about too, because the Bolts remember they have 39 each, right? And the Metro and Caps, the Islanders and Caps. Islanders are at 41, Caps are at 40. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy that that's the case, but thankfully we don't see the Islanders again this year because we've already lost 3 against them. While series wins against Vegas, New Jersey, and Washington helped the Bolts rise to the top of the Atlantic, the sweep by the Islanders did show their cracks. Their elite goaltenders obviously are hard for any team to play against, but the Bolts especially had a pretty tough time against Ilya Sorkin. They scored 3 goals on him in 3 games. He shut them out in the second matchup in Tampa, mind you. He shut them out in Tampa. It wasn't in Long Island. It was in Tampa. And he saved over 30 shots in each of those games. So offensively, we really need to try to figure out a way past those kind of goaltenders. We have the right idea, honestly, with shooting, but still, we got to get the pucks back on the net against those guys. So, hopefully some reinforcements are coming at the trade deadline, before the trade deadline. That's why we talk about it each day, right? Because there are a ton of players out there that can help the Bolts. There are also a few free agents. I think we're going to hop into that during January as well to see who's left out on the market who could possibly come in and lend in a help or two. But remember, help or two, a lend in a hand or two. Remember, though, our depth has kind of kept us afloat, right? It's really kept us locked in and kept us flowing. So I think we're all right. We're also going to wrap up 2 more season series against Western Conference opponents by New Year's Day. We're going to play the Ducks again. We're going to beat them once at home. Remember, earlier this year, we're playing them in Anaheim. And then we're going to play the Kings twice. We're playing the Kings, I believe, on Thursday. So tomorrow, actually. And then we're playing them again in Los Angeles on, I believe it's on the 30th or it's New Year's Eve, one of the two. We're playing the Ducks on we're playing the Kings on New Year's Day. We're playing the Ducks on the 30th, I believe. That's our last game of 2025. So we still got a long way to go. Still got a lot of opponents to finish season series against, but so far, not too bad. Taking season series out of 3 out of 4 opponents so far, we'll definitely take that. But we're going to go back down to the minors for a second. We're going to talk about Mr. Sam O'Reilly, because he's having not too bad of a season, right? He was acquired for former first-round pick Isaac Howard this summer in a trade with Edmonton. O'Reilly has proven that the Athletics' number 3 prospect ranking for him might be a bit too low, though. He was a former first-round pick by the Oilers. He's looking to prove to the Bolts that he was worth the price of Howard, simply put. Remember, too, Howard, everything was looking good. He won the Hobie Baker Award last year, best NCAA player. We were kind of hoping he was going to come in, play in Syracuse a little bit, and then come up and provide a punch to the team in Tampa. But he didn't want to go down to Syracuse, so we traded him. And it's kind of funny too because now he's in Bakersfield. He's in AHL Bakersfield. The Oilers sent him down because he's not ready. He's not ready. So, O'Reilly is looking to kind of prove that, okay, I'm going to be the better player. This is what the Athletic said about O'Reilly in the initial trade breakdown. They said, by moving his rights, the Lightning acquired O'Reilly, a 19-year-old center with the back-to-back OHL champion and 2025 Memorial Cup champion London Knights. O'Reilly was selected with the number 32 pick of the 2024 NHL draft by Edmonton, remember, and registered 98 points in 84 combined regular season playoff and Memorial Cup games in 2024-25. O'Reilly, a potential third-line center, is a solid NHL prospect and a respectable return for the Lightning, giving Howard's public decision to not sign with the team that drafted him. Remember, said he didn't want to sign with us because he didn't see a role. If he did stay here, he probably would have heard me in Tampa. But, O'Reilly's still got probably a couple years until we see him up in Tampa. He is 19 after all, but he's going to have to make that jump from London to Syracuse at some point, and I believe it'll probably be next year, especially if he continues to improve and play well. Despite the negative plus-minus he has so far this year in 28 games with the Knights, he already has 28 points, 12 goals, and 16 assists, so he's really hitting that point-per-game kind of bench line we're looking for as players progress through the system. And the Knights season will end towards the end of March, where a potential playoff run awaits like the last few years, so don't be surprised to see O'Reilly not in Syracuse until later this year, hopefully by the time next season starts. Furthermore, one more accolade on his ledger. Pretty strong start, right? We talked about that. He's been named to Team Canada's training camp roster, for the World Junior Championship. So, only 19, O'Reilly's got a long way to go to Tampa. However, I believe he's on the right track, and I think he's really going to help us a couple years down the line. But we're going to talk about a guy now that is helping us right now, and we already know who that is. It's Jordan Llanes. And he's going to be a UFA next summer. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent. So his recent run could have the Bolts front office considering a new deal for the veteran, right? He's 29, played pretty good. He did sign a 2-year extension back in 2023 worth just under $1 million a season. So any new deal would almost certainly be a pay increase, especially if he continues to play as well as he has. And that makes sense, right? Because we're looking for players that are going to contribute long-term. Jordan Llanes, he plays this well, continues to play this well, is a player that can contribute long-term. So, once everyone's fully healthy, though, it's going to be kind of wild because we're going to face a numbers crunch, right? Hedman is going to be out to the Olympics. Lilleberg's going to be out for a while. He just got knocked. Chernak, we don't know what's going on. McDonough should be back soon, though. He actually might be back tomorrow night against the Kings. The rumor is that him and Vasi are looking to make their returns in that game. So, I hope that's the case because, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to, get a win against the Kings with a couple of our stalwarts back. But back to Llanes, it's interesting because, remember, at the beginning of the season, right, a lot of healthy scratches. They didn't really get to play too much when we were at full strength. But then his injuries mounted, made his way back into the lineup, and really proved to be quite the contributor. He's on the top pairing with J.J. Moser right now, and the two of them are playing excellent hockey. They're shorting a real heavy load, too, with all the injuries. They're playing, easily over 20 minutes of ice time each night, usually averaging at least 22, 23 minutes a game. Shouldering that load is the number one pairing. When McDonough comes back, it's possible he pops up on the top pairing, but I don't think he will. I think he'll be on the second line again. I'd actually like to see who they team him up with, because why break up Llanes and Moser with how well they're playing, right? There's really no need for it, I think. Even after everyone comes back, is there a need? If they're both playing this well still, in 2 months' time, we don't even need to trade for anybody, I don't think. So, I think a lot of our trade focus should be actually, and we're going to dive deeper into the trade deadline, because remember, it's only a couple months out now. So we're really going to start deep diving into it next month. because there's a lot. We've talked about it every day. There's a different guy. There's a lot of possibilities. But Darren Radish, I believe, especially if he continues this play, deserves a new contract. Will it be with us? I hope so, especially with the rising cap starting next year. We should have the room to lock him in full term, and I don't really see why that would be an issue. But I'm not Julian Breboy or the Bolts front office, so anything can happen. That being said, if this play continues, don't be surprised to see Darren Radish get the next extension. I'm hoping it's JJ Moser personally, but don't be surprised to see Darren Radish get it. And if he's playing like this, he deserves it. However, we talked about, right? There are so many targets out there that can help the Bolts. Over the next few weeks, we're playing a few different teams. We're playing the Panthers again, of course. Then we started on them. We also playing the Kings, obviously twice, right? Run the Kings twice. The Hurricanes, the Blues, and the Ducks. So a lot of Western Conference teams over these next few days. We're going to be on a Western Conference road trip at the beginning of the new year, so that'll be fun. But there's a lot of players out there that could really help. The Panthers have a couple that would be interesting. The Kings have a lot. A lot of people talked about Brant Clark, the defenseman, and I think that'd be a lot of fun because that'd be a long-term piece for the Bolts. One guy that almost certainly won't happen, but I love to see it, despite his age, is Anze Kopitar. This is his last year with the Kings. He's going to retire after this year. But man, just a short-term run? Like I'm walking? Like, what could it hurt? What could it hurt? Also, I would also love to see Corey Perry back, selfishly, because, during his time with us, he was such a big boost to our lineup in a variety of ways. Big fan of his. There's a few goalies out there, too, we're going to talk about. Darcy Kemper and Anton Forsberg, the Kings duo, is one. The Hurricanes duo of Fredrik Anderson and Pyotr Kochetkov is another one. Kochetkov is himself. He's 26. He's a guy I think that can really be an impact goaltender long-term in this league. Wouldn't mind seeing him in Bolt Blue and being Vasi's successor, if I'm being honest with you. Because remember, right? Vasi's going to be in his 30s. He's already in his 30s, but he's going to be 34 when this deal expires. Well, you might have to replace him. As painful as that is to admit. The Blues have a lot of young talent as well that are really interesting. Jimmy Snuggerud is one name, but remember, he's injured right now, so, depending on if he'd be back or not, I don't know if the trade deadline deal will work out, but I am a big fan of his. Jake Neighbors obviously is another one. Their goalie duo, Joel Hofer and Jordan Bennington. Bennington's another name that if I had my druthers, I would trade for either Bennington or Kochetkov and have them be the 1B to Vasi's 1A, once Vasi's healthy. Because here's the thing. We're seeing once again, right? Remember, during the preseason, he was dealing with some sort of knock we didn't know about. Fast forward, had a rough few games before we finally started righting the ship. Got to keep him healthy because our road to a Stanley Cup leads with Vasi in that. And getting a true 1B to back him up wouldn't be a bad idea. The Ducks also have a couple names. Obviously, Leo Carlsson's the main one. He hasn't signed a new contract with them yet. It would obviously take a boatload to trade for Leo Carlsson, but we're going to dive into that in a couple days. Also, we will dive into it further as the deadline approaches because there's a number of young guns out on the market that could be great fits for our team. But yeah, there's a few guys, like, I also really see Jordan Stahl. He's getting up there, but man, the veteran leadership, the ability to impact the game still on both ends. Great guy. Jacob Trouba from the Ducks is another one too. He is a bit pricey right now, but he'd be a really strong impact defense add to our lineup, especially with, a lot of young guys coming from Syracuse trying to prove themselves. Tomorrow, pretty easy one. We're going to preview the first Kings-Bolts matchup of the season. Also, a couple other things. We're going to check in on Connor Geeky as well because he's having a pretty good time down in Syracuse. Wondering when he's going to be back. And, of course, we haven't dove into it yet, but we've finally discussed the Stadium Series jerseys. So, this is Jordan and Lightning latest signing off. I'll see y'all tomorrow for the preview. Have a good one.